All right. Today we're venturing into the multiverse with DC's new animated film, Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 1. We'll be deep diving, comparing it to the legendary comic book, analyzing its strengths and weaknesses, and exploring its place within the Tomorrowverse continuity. So buckle up because we're about to crack open the cosmos next on Two Geeks and a Microphone. Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast, your one-stop shop for television, movie, video games, comic books, book reviews, and more. Now, without further ado, here's Steven and Mike.
So who talks first? You talk first. I talk first.
I guess I'll talk first. So Steven is not with us today. Steven is on a business trip. I think he might be in Kansas City, Missouri this morning. So he may not be too far away from us. But while Steven is out, I got my friend Tharen. He's too cool for you, Lowery. Welcome, Mr. Tharen. How are you today?
I'm doing great, sir. Hello, listeners. How's everything? How's everything out there in the geekdom world? It's awesome.
Yes, we will be entering the geekdom world, and we will be entering the multiverse today. Since Steven is not with us,
Yeah.
If you've listened for any amount of time, you know that Steven is not a big fan of multiverse. So I figured this would be a perfect opportunity for Tharen and I to discuss Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. So here we are. But before we do that, I do have a couple news items. So we'll go ahead and jump into the geeky news. All right, so jumping into the geeky news, and I didn't have my share screen ready. So let's do this. Let's get this up here. All right, there we go. So I just found out that James Gunn's new Superman movie has started production. They've started principal photography, and he's changed the title. The title is no longer Superman Legacy or Legacy of Superman, or now it's just Superman. So he went to a more simple title. I'm still a little worried about this film because I think he might be overdoing it and putting too many characters into it at once. It seems like a problem that DC has had in the past, and they just don't seem to be learning from that. So we'll see what happens, though. I hope it does well. I hope it's a good movie, but you know, it is what it is. So we have that, and then we got the big news. I think it was yesterday. Oh, I was hoping I could go full screen there and it would show it, but it wouldn't. So Eric July, the founder of Rippaverse Comic Books, which we are very excited about over here at Two Geeks and a Microphone. Steve and I are going to be covering ISOM 1 and hopefully ISOM 2 here in a few short weeks. And then maybe after that, not long after that, maybe we can dive into Alpha Core, which was the third campaign that Eric July put out. But he just announced his fourth campaign, which is Yaira. She is, as they say, the femme fatale of the Rippaverse universe, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about Yaira. And it looks like that campaign will begin March 11th. So be on the lookout for more from the Rippaverse. And from what I understand, they are also working
this
on.
This bobblehead is just ridiculous. And did you notice who it is? That's...
Sorry about that. I also saw they're working on a new character they're calling the Horseman. I should have had a picture of that, but I didn't get one ready for it. Unfortunately, the Horseman in the picture I saw of it, he looks a lot like Batman. So I'm a little worried about that. But, you know, so far Eric and his crew's done a really good job over there, and I'm sure it'll be a great story. So we'll see what happens with that. And that is all I think I have for the geeky news. Tharen, you got anything for the geeky news?
Yes, I do. I guess mine is more gamer related, but then again, I'm gonna follow up on a story that I covered, I believe, the last time I was on, which is Power World. So that is Xbox's iteration of Pokemon, um, and they are basically they lost a lot of their they lost I think 75% of their user base. So basically, people
Ooh.
have dropped from playing Power. It was a big hit when it first got on to the platform, and it was about it was going strong and everything. Almost had like a basically over what's that 5 million players, and then all of a sudden, I mean, after a couple of weeks, due to lack of updates and just over the cross-platform nature from Xbox from PC is more up to date than the Xbox. um yeah, they lost 75% of their player base, which is unfortunate. The game is cool. You can enslave pals to do work for you, but at the same time, they're cute and cuddly. They're Pokemon-esque, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I was just like, oh, I thought that game was gonna go somewhere, but turns out that Nintendo is gonna make a game very subsequent show towards that same style that Power came up. So they did release, or they did announce that they're releasing a new Pokemon game. I'm a big Pokemon person, by the way. So you're talking about a person that played hours and hours and hours of Pokemon game. Also went out in the world, real world, by the way, and captured a lot of Pokemon from Pokemon Go, and I still to this day keep up with my. So yes, I thought that was pretty interesting.
So do you think the drop
Mhm.
had to do with, it was just kind of a niche, people were just wanting to jump in on this because it was kind of a ripoff of Pokemon, and then everyone just got bored with it, or why do you think
Yeah.
there's a big drop off of the users?
Nintendo's lawsuit that they basically was going to hit it with. They didn't think it was going to last long. It was developed by, I believe, like 5 different developers. They had some they wanted to create something lighthearted and kid friendly and stuff like that. But then again, they wanted to have that the element of brutality into the game. Like you can use guns, you can ride on the Pokemon, you can do all the stuff that you want to do. They make them a little bit more not as friendly, but I thought it was pretty interesting. And then for the most part, I do like the style of game. Now I do play it, but then again, it is different from the PC versus the actual Xbox gameplay. You have a lot more; it's more fluid, and then the game isn't as broken. They still have to do a lot more updates to the game in order to make it more fun.
So you play it on the PC in opposed to the Xbox?
I played on the Xbox. Xbox.
Oh, you do play it on the
Series
Xbox.
X.
Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay. Megan was a Pokemon fan growing up. She had several of the Pokemons, I think, for the Game Boy Advance or Red and Blue. Okay.
Well, technically, I had yellow, but
I don't know. I didn't.
Three the same game, pretty much.
Just different colors.
Let's see.
I didn't watch. I didn't play Pokemon, so
it's all good.
It just wasn't my thing. That's all.
I had yellow. I had Pearl and Diamond. I think I also had Sapphire.
Oh, so yeah, Sapphire and Gold. Yeah, okay, cool. So we had so they have X and Y, and then they just came out with a newer. They're coming out with a newer version of the Pokemon series. So that's going to be that was announced actually in the Nintendo Direct they just had about a week ago. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They also released a new Earthbound game. I thought that is called Mother, which is actually really good as well too. So if you're into Earthbound is from us 90s kids. We kind of grew up on that, so I thought that was pretty interesting. That's Ness. You guys have, if you ever played any of the Smash Brothers characters. Ness, the Earthbound kid, the one with the snake, the yo-yo, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the game he's from. Just to give clarity. Lucas is another it's the same character from a different time period of that particular game. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
See, I played Super Mario Brothers, but I didn't play Smash Brothers. And I played Donkey Kong Country. I love Donkey Kong Country.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Donkey Kong Country.
I know what you're doing.
It's just Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong Country, man.
Okay, all right.
Donkey, Diddy Kong.
Oh, and I think that's in my latest. Okay, so that was the power I talked about a little bit of Earthbound. I was very excited about that. Me and my buddy Mike at work, we were basically kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when it came down to from Mother. And then what else we have? I got some pretty interesting. No, I'm gonna save that for later. Never mind.
Okay.
That's all I got for right now. Yeah.
All right, so that's it for the geeky news. So we will move on to our Geekdar.
Go with the radar, sir.
What's wrong with it?
I've lost the bleeps, I've lost the sweeps, and I've lost the creeps.
The what? The what? And the what?
You know, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps.
That's not all he's lost.
All right.
Actually make those.
Yes, he makes those noises. That is his talent. If you go and look him up on YouTube, he makes all kinds of noises. He's great. I love it. That's why he is the great Michael Winslow. So anyway, Geekdar, this is kind of our show and tell segment. And as usual, I have comic books. Imagine that. So this past week, I saw a story that a new comic book story was coming out in the Batman series, in the regular Batman series, because there are numerous Batman titles in DC Comics. I won't even go down the list of how many freaking Batman titles there are, but this is in the main Batman continuity, and it was called Joker Year One. And I saw that, and I'm like, I rushed to the comic book store. And they had all 3 issues. It's a 3-part series, beginning in Batman 142. And so there's the cover. Oh, here, Megan. It's got too much green on it. My green screen shows it there. So there's 142 with the Joker on it and with the red hood. He's holding the red hood. So if you know a little bit about the Killing Joke and the 3 Jokers, you understand the whole Red Hood storyline. And this plays into that. So I'm really excited. I started reading it, but I haven't got too far into it. So you want to show the next one, 143. And there's the cover 143 with Batman beating the snot out of the Joker.
So this ties into the Killing Joke.
Yes, it ties into Killing Joke and the 3 Jokers, which made me really excited. And then that one's got a shot of Commissioner Gordon with the Joker. So pretty excited about the story. I'm hoping maybe Steven and I can cover it on the show in the near future. We'll see how we can figure that out. I just got to figure out how to get Steven to read the comics. That's all. That's always a challenge.
Lured Commissioner Gordon into the House of Mirrors. Oh, never mind. Let me stop.
Well, I don't know. See, I don't know what's happening in this one. Okay. But yes, the Killing Joke. That is a gruesome story. I would not recommend it for any child, anyone who's probably younger than a teen, because it's extremely graphic and extremely gruesome. But it is one of my all-time favorite Batman stories. Mm-hmm. And then the Killing Joke goes into the 3 Jokers, which came out just a few years ago, where Batman finds out that there are actually 3 distinct different Jokers. Mm-hmm. And that one's a fantastic story too. And it kind of ties into the Killing Joke a little bit. And then this is kind of supposed to cap it all off. So we'll see how it goes. And that's what I have for my Geekdar segment.
So for
Excuse
the
me.
Killing Joke, do you think that the Man Who Laughs, the comic series for that, do you think the three Jokers actually because that's when Batman goes crazy and he ended up becoming, I believe, like the
Oh,
Joker.
you mean the Batman? What is it? The Batman Who Laughs. I have that series too.
Yeah, the Batman.
Alright.
I think it's the Batman that laughs. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, the Batman Who Laughs. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This Batman.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one. Now
Yeah.
that one is not for you kids. Yeah.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely
Oh
not.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You went
Yeah. This
pretty
is the
crazy.
the Batman Who Laughs, and it is a combination of the Batman and the Joker. And again, another one of my favorites. Just fantastic.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have an action figure of him if it wasn't one of my favorites. So
Yeah. So if you want to get into some pretty, I would say this is more your back alley, Joker, or like deep, if you're going for something like a little bit more serious and noir style with the comics and everything. Yeah, the Batman Who Laughs, the Three Jokers, and the Killing Joke. Yeah, that will take you. Yeah, you're coming out of your comfort zone when it comes to staying with. Oh yeah, my superheroes. They're all like now you're getting more into like the sinisterness of the villains and what happens if Batman, if he gets what was it? It was Joker's blood. I think he had something to do with Joker's blood that tainted that messed him up in that particular sense. Yeah. So it's pretty
and we
interesting.
start seeing Batmans from different universes popping in and stuff like that. Yeah. Which is probably something Steven wouldn't care for since it's kind of multiverse continuity.
Oh, imagine that. That's going to segue into our main event right about now.
There you go. So, Tharen, if you don't have anything for the Geek Dar,
no, I don't think I have anything. Right
okay.
now.
All right. Well, then we will move into the main event. Speaking of multiverse,
it's time for the main event.
well, look at that. See, Steven was with us.
Ah.
I got to get his voice in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
All right. So today we are going to be diving into DC's Crisis on Infinite Earth. Crisis has got an interesting backstory. It's got an interesting history within the DC comic books. It was one of the first, I think it may actually be the first big, huge multiverse, or not multiverse, but crossover event in comic history. In some ways it's great because it's a good story. I enjoy Crisis a lot. It did a lot of good for DC at the time when it happened. However, it also opened up the door for many other crossovers and kind of killed the comic book industry, in my opinion. Only because the comic book companies started doing so many different multiverse events. When it started, it was just like DC would do one big multiverse event a year, or not multiverse, but a crossover event a year, and Marvel would do one big crossover event a year. And now it's to the point where they're doing multiple crossover events. And when I say a crossover, so you got the main story, like Crisis has 12 issues in it, and that's the main story of it. But it crosses over into like all these other minor books. And they're trying to get you to buy everything you possibly can. And by the time you're done with it, you could spend tons and tons of money. So it wasn't a huge deal when it was one crossover a year. But when they start doing multiple crossovers a year and you got multiple companies doing multiple crossovers, yeah, you can totally go broke. It's insane. So that's why I say it's kind of a double-edged sword. It was a cool event and it really helped DC in some ways. because back then at that point, DC had established the multiverse. And the multiverse was really so they can keep the continuity of both Silver Age characters, meaning the characters from like the 1930s and 1940s and 50s, and have the Golden Age characters, which would be your characters from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And that was kind of my primary spot at that point. You know, I'm an 80s kid. But then there were some of those, you know, Silver Age ones that I loved, you know, like I'm a big fan of the Jay Garrick Flash, and the Jay Garrick Flash kind of kicked off the entire multiverse. I had on my Geekdar a couple weeks ago, I got a facsimile reprint of the Flash of Two Worlds, which is where Jay Garrick and Barry Allen Flashes meet, and the different Earths collide, basically. And I think it was like the first point of the multiverse for DC Comics. But over the years, over the time, it just got too much for them to handle. They were having a hard time keeping track of everything, keeping track of the characters, keeping track of the storylines, and they decided that they were going to have to limit everything. And they figured, well, the way we limit it is we have this crisis event, which combines all the multiverses into one universe. And at the same time, we will eliminate some characters and even add some new ones. So you saw the deaths of some significant characters. And back then, a death of a character could actually mean a real death of the character. Where today, today we hear, oh, so-and-so's dying. Yeah, they'll be back in 6 months. No big deal. Where so the big thing about Crisis was probably the biggest death and most significant death was Barry Allen, the Barry Allen Flash. And Barry Allen actually gives himself up. He's got a real hero's death in the comic books version of Crisis, and he gives himself up to save the multiverse, or to try and save what is left of the Earths, you know, so forth. And had a huge impact. Barry was dead for years, for a long, long time. Wally West actually took over as the Flash, and you kind of see the ring is passed on to him at the end of Crisis, and which means he gets Barry's full red uniform, where Wally was yellow Kid Flash, so on and so forth. And he becomes the adult Barry Allen, and he actually takes over the comic book line. I collected the Wally West Flash series from, I think, the first year it started all the way into 3 or 4 years. I think I got first 3 or 4 years of the Wally West Flash comic books. So,
Mike, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Why the Flash is so important, and why he was able to go into the speed? I mean, why he was able to cross, jump from dimensions so people can understand, like, okay, why I understand the Flash is important because he's fast, but there's a significant reason why the Flash became very pivotal when it comes to Crisis, and how he's able to jump from multiverse and everything of that nature.
So yeah, actually, the Flash is extremely pivotal within the DC universe. He's a much bigger character than a lot of people actually realize. And part of the reason is, like you said, he is able to jump back and forth in between different universes. Back then, it was because of the cosmic treadmill. He had what he called the cosmic treadmill, and that allowed him to go back and forth. Now, in the more modern DC comics, they utilize the Speed Force more, and the Speed Force allows him to do basically the same thing the cosmic treadmill did. And I don't know, the Speed Force fits his characteristics and his abilities, I think, a little bit better. The cosmic treadmill was just something that DC devised just to give him a way to travel back and forth. And
Yeah.
it was like a quick, easy way to explain things and not have to get too technical and so on and so forth. And then I think as years went by, the character just evolved and his powers evolved a lot more. And then that's how we had the birth of the Speed Force. But yeah, Barry is pivotal because of the fact that he can do the time traveling, he can do the universe hopping, and which most characters cannot do those types of things. A lot of people just look at Barry and go, "So he runs fast. Who cares about that?" Right.
Now,
but no, Barry is way more than that.
Yes, each universe, even though they are there, obviously there's multiple iterations of the Barry Allen, but each cosmic treadmill has a different signature for that universe. So that's why when Barry is going on, like say if he's doing like running on Earth 1 or something like that, it's not so he's only running within that particular time frame of that reality. In order for him to go into like let's say Earth 3 or something like that, the cosmic treadmill has to be synced in order for them to cross over, and that's
Nice.
that's going to segue into how Barry is able to jump and also bring other people over. But then again, I just want to explain that a little bit, flesh that out just a little bit more better, because most people's like, "Whoa, is he got cosmic treadmill? How do they both connect?" Well, you have to sync them first before they can actually become connected. So when Barry gets on it, he can run and he'll be able to kind of like dimensional swap or hop when he does that, and that's what allows him to basically become transdimensional in that sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Correct. No, I absolutely agree with you. You're absolutely right with all that information. So let's take a look at the film first. We'll just give our brief overview of the film, spoiler free to start with. So I watched this. I've watched it twice. I bought it digitally because one thing, it's Crisis, so I want to get it. Oh, by the way, Crisis is getting re-released in facsimile reprints starting either this month or April, one of the two. I don't remember which. But they're going to be reprinting the entire 12-issue run. So if you're interested in getting the comics version of Crisis, it's going to be available again. I already went to Fantasy and said, "Hey, add this to my pull." So so Ashley, the girl that runs Fantasy over there, she's like, "Done. Okay, we're good. You got it." So I'll be getting that. You can also get it in the DC Infinite app. They have all the issues available there. So if you're really interested in it, that's another way you can get it. And I'm sure there's somewhere a trade paperback of it. There's been many Crisis events. There's also been many versions of the Crisis storyline. We had a version of it in the Flash TV series, which I thought they did an okay job. It wasn't bad.
Okay.
It wasn't really anywhere near close to the comic books, but it was okay for what it was. DC Animated had tried Crisis on 2 Earths. And again, not a half bad story, but I don't really consider that Crisis, because it's basically the same bad guys we see in this one. It's like almost a shorter version of this movie, but it's just the 2 Earths, not all the multiple Earths. That's all it is. Not a bad watch, but I think this one's much more betterer. Cheers.
I'm gonna drink on it about now.
I had to get one in. So anyway, my overall on this. Crisis is Crisis on Infinite Earths, the latest one, which is part one of a 3-part series. The other 2 parts will be coming out later this year. I felt they did a decent job of telling the story, but telling it in a way that connects to their animated universe. If you're looking for a comic book equivalent, it's probably not the best thing, but it's probably the closest they've done so far. But I think it works well with the current Tomorrowverse, which is 10 films that they've done over the last several years. I don't know if I got. Hey, Megan, see if you can get me a list of the 10 films that lead into Crisis Infinite Earth. That way we can kind of go over the films too. But overall, I think they did a fairly good job. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I liked the Flash. They did great on his character. The guy voicing the Flash was amazing. I loved him. Yep. I think all the voices were well done. You know, I miss our Batman, but death does that to us. But other than that, I'd say it's well worth the watch if you are a fan of Multiverse and you were a fan of Crisis. I say give this a watch. It's a good movie. As far as a rating goes, I figured we'd use the Cosmic Treadmill for the rating system, and I'll give it a 7 out of 10 Cosmic Treadmills. 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Okay. Yeah, I'll give this as about 7 out of 10 too. The reason why I would give it a 7 out of 10 because on the opening, let's say in the opening act, the first 30 minutes of it, it kind of throws you into this this void of information. Things are happening, but you don't know what's happening. But they're like flashes. They're flashes. So
nice.
So they're happening, and then the Flash, you kind of stuff. You are open up into, okay, something's happening with the Flash. Something's happening in the world he's in. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Flashpoint, of like what happened when he went back. Oh, he screwed up some stuff. But then again, it's just like, did he screw up some stuff? What's happening? It's more than what he's screwing up. But then again, for the most part, you also get introduced to Batman and Superman, and then that's when you notice that there's a lot of more. There is a character that comes in. What is the character? What's his name? It's the robot. It's the android.
Oh crap! Amazo.
Amazo. Yes, and then you realize what was Amazo, and then that's pretty much where it was at. So once you start to get to that point, when you get up to the point where you have Amazo, everything becomes disheveled. And then when you get to when it's the second act, that's when it starts to make more sense. Like Mike, like you mentioned, you watched the movie about two or three times. That's what it would take for you to understand the movie. Once you watch it, and it's just like, what just happened? And then when you watch it again, it was just like, oh, okay, I can see what happened. Okay, this is why that kind of came. So the setup is kind of all over the place. If you're not familiar with what's that multiverse movies, they always kind of put you in that Pulp Fiction type of deal. They start you in the middle or towards the end, and they kind of work themselves backwards, and then you have to start to kind of put the bit pieces together in order for you to understand, okay, what all happened here. And then by the end, you realize, okay, it's starting to come together, start making sense. Like you'll notice that with Flash and Iris character, that their relation to each other and everything in that nature. And then also there's other characters that will come into play. That it's just like, who is this old guy? And why is he basically constantly coming around bopping Flash on the head, and all of a sudden he just throws. Now I got to pay attention to what's happening, where he's at now. And Flash can't necessarily use his powers because, like Mike said, they have this before he gets the Cosmic Treadmill, the Speed Force. Every time he tries to tap into the Speed Force, it throws him off. And that's that's going to be very pivotal going forward when you actually get further into the film and everything. But for the most part, I would say story-wise, yes, it is actually a really good story. It's very, very in-depth, very technical when it comes down to understanding, like, okay, that makes sense. If you were to do this in this particular, on this Earth, then you have to do it on other Earths, and it has to basically all sync up. So that it makes sense when that comes to that particular standpoint. But yeah, I do like it. It's a really good movie.
So what's your number rating?
Mine's going to be 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Okay, all right, we're right.
Yeah,
we're
7
right
out of
there.
10. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
You want to start to the thing that they didn't do is what you said before. It was explain. It lets you know some of these golden age characters or the silver age characters. Then you kind of you don't know exactly like okay, how do they all know each other? Because at a certain point in the film, they're gonna all kind of like coalesce with each other and everything, and it's just like, oh, I know you, or you're me from that, and then it's that part. It's just like, okay, I know that character. I know that where did that character come from? And then that's where it's gonna throw you off. But yeah, it's a pretty fun interaction.
Oh, I love when Robin shows up. The Robin of the other Earth shows up, and he's an adult Robin.
Mm-hmm.
His costume looks a little different, and he comes up to Batman, and Batman has no clue of who he is.
Yes,
because
Dick Grayson. No.
Yeah, it was Dick.
Yeah,
it was Dick,
Grayson,
but it was Dick of a different world, of a different Earth, and on his Earth, Batman dies, and he kind of takes over for Batman, but he doesn't take on the mantle. He keeps the Robin costume.
Yeah, he did. Yes.
But here on this Earth, this Batman, he hasn't taken on. I mean, he takes in Dick Grayson, but he hasn't made the decision to make Dick Grayson Robin yet, make him his partner. In fact, he thinks it's not a smart idea, And when Dick Grayson of the other Earth comes up to him, he's like, "Oh my gosh, Bruce!" And Batman's just like, "Who the heck are you, and how do you know who I am?"
I thought it was he didn't adopt him. He didn't adopt him. The Batman that you see that's in the main concept, I believe it's Earth 1 Batman. Is it Earth 1, Earth 2? Yeah, that Batman, the one that we get introduced when he was fighting Amazo, he didn't adopt Dick Grayson, so he didn't have any wards at that particular time. But when he was introduced to Dick Grayson in the Robin costume, I mean, like it was the Robin costume that you see Damian Wayne wear. Isn't it the same one Damian Wayne wore? That's what I thought.
No, it's a little different. It's they actually stuck to costume. Well, so there is a Silver Age. I hope I'm saying that right. I get the Silver Age and Golden Age mixed up, but there is a Robin from that era who that Batman had died in the comic books. I mean, that's pretty comic book accurate there. And that Robin, that is the suit that they put on that Robin from like the 1940s or 1950s, something like that. Okay. It's fairly accurate to the comic books. They did a good job.
Okay.
But then he introduces Huntress to Batman.
Yes. Oh,
which is great.
Yes. Yeah, and I was like, "Who is that?" And it was like, "Do we want to talk about that in spoilers, or we want to wait?"
Well, I think we've kind of veered off into spoilers anyway. So, all right. So if you're watching now, and you don't want any spoilers, stop the video. We'll wait.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Now.
I was going to say, it's kind of hard to not talk about spoilers in a multiverse universe because how things kind of, they interact with each other. It's like, well, why did that happen? It's because of this. Oh, God, I just spoiled it for you. My bad.
Nah,
it's 40 years. You should have read the books by now. No, I'm just kidding.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's in that universe, Huntress is Batman's daughter. And it's interesting how the heroes, how they continue his legacy going forward. I think that's Huntress is the daughter of Catwoman and Batman, which and I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, I knew that was going to happen. And it was interesting how they brought her into the fold, not because Not because they wanted to introduce them at that particular point. It was very pivotal of why they brought all of those superheroes together at the second act of the movie and everything in that nature. Not just to introduce and be like, hey, this is a big party, everybody come together. No, it was a really big looming threat that was
It's a big party.
wreaking havoc. All right.
I love that. It's a big party. That's great. So I thought I'd just give a little bit of an analysis on the movie. A little bit of the summary. It's so on the move as far as the movie goes. Part one. This is part one of a 3-part series. It follows the basic premise of the iconic comic book storyline, with the Anti-Monitor threatening the existence of the multiverse by consuming various realities. The Justice League, joined by heroes from different Earths, must unite to stop him. The film condenses the vast narrative of the comics, focusing on key characters like Flash, Superman. Well, then they say Superwoman here, and Lex Luthor. Comparisons to the comic book storyline. So the similarities between the comic book and the movie, the core concept of the Anti-Monitor destroying the Earth, that's the same. Multiverse setting with heroes from different realities, that's the same. Key characters like the Flash, Supergirl, and Lex Luthor playing pivotal roles in the storyline, that's the same. The difference is, though, the film focuses more on a smaller group of heroes compared to the comic books, which, again, the comic books spans 12 issues of a main storyline, and then all of the little spin-off issues that go into every single Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, so on and so forth. So they can focus on a much bigger, broader picture than you can in film. Certain characters and events are omitted or adapted for brevity, and the film introduces a new element, the emotional core revolving around the Flash's connection to Iris West. And I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Because in the comics, right, in the comics, it focused on Barry's his sacrifice, okay? Where the movie, yes, Barry does sacrifice himself, but it's leaning more on his and Iris's relationship, which is not a bad thing. I mean, Iris is known in the comic books as Wally West's, or not Wally West, as Barry Allen's lightning rod. So, she is what encourages him, what makes him who he is. Really.
It's kind of like Mary Jane to Spider-Man. So Peter Parker.
Yep.
Or pretty much what it is.
Or Lois to Superman.
Or Lois to Superman. Yep.
Yep. I would actually put their relationship. There are specific comic book relationships that I think are pivotal and should always remain. One being Peter Parker and Mary Jane. 2, Clark Kent and Lois Lane. And then 3, Barry Allen and Iris West. I think those are the pivotal. Staple. Yep, exactly. I love those three relationships.
Joker and Harley Quinn. I mean, you can't just because they're villain doesn't mean that they can't.
That's an abusive relationship. That is not. Hey. Yeah.
That's her pudding. Whatever, dude. You can't. Hey, love is love, man. I ain't gonna stunt. That's how it goes. It's toxic, but then again,
that is a whole different.
It's toxic. Oh my god, that's funny.
We would have to have a whole different episode for Harley's and Joker's relationship. I don't put it on. I love the relationship, but I don't put it on the same level. Let's put it this way.
And Clark Kent.
Yes, I would not. I would not suggest anyone model their marriage upon Harley and the Joker. Okay, let's just put it that way. I would say funny. Clark and Lois are a good model, but Harley and Joker, no, avoid that relationship as best as you can.
I don't know, man. I don't know if Lois and Clark is a good model because she always getting thrown from some high place and he got to swoop in to save her. What happened if it's like a burning building with children from an orphanage and he got to go save his wife. I mean, which one do you choose? That's a hard bargain. And if they had if they had an argument that day, he might just let her fall a couple of meters and then go save the kids. And it's just a lot of nuances right there. It's like, how do you keep falling from these buildings? You need to change your hairstyle so people won't know that you're with me. All right, never mind. I digress. Anyway.
Well, see, that's why Clark has the secret identity. That's why the secret identity is important, to try to keep people away from his loved ones. I've never been a fan of this whole what is it? Cap decides to, I'm going to tell the world of who I am. I've never been a real fan of that. It was Cap. Was it Cap? Or no. Iron Man wanted.
Iron Man was the one that did that.
Right. Cap wanted to keep it a secret. Iron Man wanted to. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I get it mixed up. But either way, you get the point. I've not been a fan of that idea. I'm on Cap's side on that one.
Okay. All right, we're going over tomorrow. Let's stick to DC. All right, so let's go. Right. So the relationship with Iris West and yeah. So this movie, the first one, The Crisis, the part one, it really will feel like a Flash movie. It's like a telling of that. Yeah, like why was Flash and why was Iris so important during a certain act in the movie, which when everybody starts to coalesce on each other. I mean, when not coalesce, but when they all started to converge into one particular Earth, when the Monitor actually brings them all together, that's when you realize, there's this wave of empty life coming at them, and it's knocking out all of the realities, and it's nothing he can do to stop it. And they have to figure out. That's the reason why they brought them all together, to try to bring all the best minds, the best heroes, to try to figure out what they can do to be able to save the Earths. And that's the reason why you have Crisis on Infinite Earths, because a lot of the Earths in multiple realities get destroyed by the what is it? The
anti-monitor.
Yeah, the anti-monitor wave. What is they call the wave?
Right. I think you're right. I think it's the anti-wave, which is created by the anti-monitor. Exactly. I liked when Barry ends up on the Earth with the bad Justice League. I always forget what their name is.
What was it? It's Ultraman. It's
right.
Lady
Ultraman, Superwoman. I don't even know what the Flash is. Oh no, the Flash was Johnny Quick.
Quick, yep. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Owlman.
Owlman, yeah, that's the Batman iteration of that, which I thought that he looked very similar to the one from the Watchmen series.
Yeah, he does. He does. Which, I mean, the Watchmen is a DC property too, so they can do that.
Yeah.
But I love it when you see them, you meet them, and they're the bad guys, and they're controlling their Earth. I mean, they've created
they're the government.
They're the government for the entire Earth. and they're still just out stealing things, robbing banks and just causing major havoc everywhere.
Yeah.
And I love it when all these disasters start happening on their planet, and you see these buildings starting to fall, right? So Ultraman, he goes and stops the building from falling and starts pushing it up. And you can see the look on the people's faces in the buildings, because they're like, oh my gosh, she's actually saving us. Well, No, he's not. He's pushing the building to fall the opposite way so it doesn't fall on their precious statues.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. I thought that was pretty interesting too. Their characters was like, so they were the what is it? And that's Sinister Six. Nah, that's a different one.
Sinister Six is Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's Spider-Man's one. It's you have the Justice League, but then again, I'm not too privy on like DC's their bad guys league as well. Don't they have a bad guy league? Gosh, I always forget the name of that too. Yeah, with Lex Luthor leading it. Yeah, Lex Luthor leading.
Black Manta, Solomon Grundy.
So they were like that variation.
What, Megan?
They're called the Crime Syndicate.
Oh yeah,
Crime Syndicate.
The Crime Crime Syndicate was the ones in Crisis. That yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. The crime
yeah,
syndicate, but then
that's what
again,
the Crime Syndicate.
They were the crime syndicate of that reality, which was pretty interesting because they didn't believe that they could. There's nothing that could stop them. They were
Oh, yeah.
the end all be all. But then again, when it came down to when the anti-life wave came through, they was trying to figure out how they was going to be able to combat it because it was destroying pretty much everything. It was destroying the earth, and it was funny how it just shows like that one scene of the earth being consumed by it. But I was just like, but they showed in a different scene that the anti-life wave came through and destroyed a whole planet. So why would it just start in that one area? It was so stupid. That's what I was like, wait a minute. Didn't it consume the whole entire world and all the other Earths, and it was just going through really, really fast?
And they had to draw this out longer for the scene.
It was so weird. And then when you destroy half of a planet, doesn't the rest of the other half explode? No, it didn't do all of that. It just was just going. And I thought that was pretty interesting too. So
I think it's more like it's but I think it's more like it's erasing it is what it's doing. It's just erasing it from existence.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Anytime something would be affected by it, the particles would just start to come up, everything would separate into particles and they would just all dissipate and such. So yeah, almost Thanos style, almost snap,
Yeah, the decimation of that. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought Owlman, the way he went out was like amazing because he just nuked himself and he was like, this thing ain't gonna kill me, I'm gonna kill it. That's such a Batman way to go. I'm telling you right about now, Batman is not gonna let anything in any reality kill him. He will kill him. He will go out the way on his terms. And that's why I love Batman. Batman will go out on his terms. Superman, I'm just gonna punch it as hard as I can.
Yeah. And then the rest of them just follow him too. Okay, well,
and the rest of them just gave up.
Right.
What's that? The Superwoman? She just said, "Oh, you know what? This pointless. I can't throw a car. I can't throw things at it to stop it. Crap. I'm just gonna give up and go." And then you had the Johnny Quick. He was just like, "Oh man, since Flash, you're in my universe. You suck it. I killed all of the the fast people in this universe, so I can't do anything. So let me go try to race towards it to see if I can do anything to stop it." Because he was siphoning when two Flashes are in the same universe. Well, no, when two Flashes are on the same speedsters, rather. I'm not Flash, but speedsters on the same Earth. They suck out they draw out the energy from the Speed Force. So he wasn't able to use it. Johnny Quick was, and that's the reason why he wasn't fast enough to go into the Speed Force to try to avoid it.
Oh, I love it when he tells the rest of the crime syndicate that. And they're like, "Oh, so what you mean is we have to kill one of you so that the other one has the full power of the Speed Force."
Yeah.
And he's going, whoa, wait a minute. Because he knew that they don't care which one they kill.
Yeah. Now, did you...
They have no loyalty.
No, they don't. Yeah, that was crazy about that. What's that? Now, did you catch the old man and the
Yes.
they kept sending Barry in different time points? That was Constantine.
Right. Now, when we first see him, my first thought was I thought it was Ollie. I thought it was Green Lantern or Green Arrow at first.
Yeah.
And then as it went along, and then he did a kind of a magic spell, I was like, "Oh, it's Constantine." And now that's the interesting thing. That is one thing that is different. One of the things that is different between the comic book and the movie. So trying to find my notes on that. So in the comic book, you have a character known as Pariah. Yeah, and Pariah is kind of the one who's guiding people through the whole crisis event. So they replaced Pariah with Constantine. And I'm sure hardcore crisis fans might look down on that, be like, "Well, it's not like the original." But I think Constantine is a good character to be able to do this. And they did kind of lead into this event from the Constantine. I forget which Constantine movie it was. And Steven and I we reviewed it. I think it was last year. But anyway, at the end of that that movie, they kind of allude to something bigger happening. And so there were hints all through 10 animated films. Megan, did you get that list for us?
10 of them?
Yeah, there was supposed to be 10 of them, from what I understand.
I've got, so Wikipedia's got a list called Tomorrowverse.
Yeah, Tomorrowverse. That's it. So you want to read through the Tomorrowverse real quick?
So the ones that are listed here are Superman, Man of Tomorrow.
Yep.
Justice Society of World War II.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Batman: The Long Halloween.
Yep.
Which has 2 parts. Green Lantern: Beware My Power.
Yep.
Oh, Power Ring. That was another one.
Justice League War World. And then it's got Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. And then I scroll down further and it's got 2 short films, which is Adam Strange and Kamandi, The Last Boy on Earth.
Oh, that one. I don't even know that at all. And I'm surprised they're not including Constantine in that, because Constantine should have been included in that also.
Yeah.
But and I've seen most of those films. I haven't seen all of them. I haven't seen Warworld at all yet. Steven and I went over the Green Lantern one, and we went over a few of those. And I can't remember if I watched the Superman one. I think I might have.
You said you didn't.
I don't know. I might have to go back and look at it and see if I did or not.
You talking about the Halloween one?
No, the Halloween one. I think Steven and I covered a long Halloween.
Okay.
Because we covered both the comic book and the movie version of it. If I remember right, we liked the movie version, but we liked the comic book a lot better, much more betterer. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Hush. Hush, we definitely liked the comic book over the movie. It was, the movie just wasn't nowhere near what the comic book is. So Crisis falls in line with that as far as going comic book versus movie. But I think Crisis is a little different just because you're dealing with different ways of handling the crisis. Because in the comic books, it's so much more vast. It's such a bigger universe in the comic books than what it is. They
introduce a lot more characters and they explore those characters as far as their relationships to what's all happening, because you get a lot more in-depth characters with like Supergirl. Supergirl and her relationship with Brainiac in that universe, in that parallel universe. She's actually they are a team. They're way more more involved, is trying to figure out how she actually teams up with Brainiac and they become the smartest ones in the.
I don't think Supergirl. I don't think Megan had Supergirl in that list either.
Supergirl played a really big part in Crisis as well.
She did. And I like that Supergirl movie. I think that's a pretty decent movie. She kind of in the beginning of that film, she kind of comes off like a bit of a spoiled brat, but as the movie goes along, you really fall in love with her character. I think they did her character really well, and I liked the connection between her and Brainiac 5 in that movie.
Oh,
and then
it was really good.
Yeah, you see where that goes in Crisis. So, where Brainy tells her that I want you to always remember I loved you. So
I thought that was pretty cool. So that was a good part. I thought it was pretty interesting. And so let's kind of, I'm gonna jump back into the second act. Amazo actually became very pivotal in the movie as well too, just with the Flash as well, when they realized that they were trying to figure out how they was going to be able to stop the interlife wave that's basically going through and destroying all of the Earths in different realms. It's only really 3 Earths that remains: 1, 2, and 3. Earth 1, 2, and Earth Prime or something like that. I think that's Earth 3. But those are the main Earths that actually survive the wave itself because of what they had to do using Flash's ability. How he had his phase ability. He can phase in and out. He can shake all of his molecules in order for him to kind of like phase through into so things can pass through him. And that's what they used eventually create that to try to save all the Earths. All the Earths had to create a tuning fork or a device that they can be able to do that. So that's the reason why they all came together, so they can be able to create this. But for some odd reason, the wave started to come a lot faster, so a lot sooner, because the Monitor, who basically organized everybody to come and try to figure this whole thing out, it started to realize that, okay, whomever it is that knows what we're trying to do, it's speeding up the clock and knocking out all of the realities a lot faster. So we don't have time. And that's when we get into the third act, which is a little bit more into Iris and Barry's story, and then what all they had to do in order to kind of like, fix it.
Now, didn't Iris call what Barry was doing? Didn't she call that time slipping?
Yeah, when he goes in, when he's in and out, like he's there and then he's not there. Like when he's in his, like when he goes into his head, she was time tripping or whatever. He said, he was like, yeah, I just had when he blinks out and stuff, he knows, he's like, okay, something's happening. But you notice how every time he does a time slip, he's like in the moment and he doesn't know what happened, but he catches on really fast as far as what's happening. Like, oh, I'm getting married now. Oh, I'm walking the dog. Oh, I'm just doing this, and he just flows with the flow. Goes with the flow of everything. I thought that was pretty cool of Barry. That's how instant his reaction times is to the situation he's involved in.
It's almost like when you wake up from a really deep sleep, and like let's say you're traveling and you're staying at a hotel and you actually get like a really deep sleep, and then you wake up and you're like, where the heck am I? It's almost one of those instances that I compare what he was going through. And then it's like, oh, okay, I'm here. He kind of snaps out of it. But I thought it was interesting that if I remember right, Iris called it time slipping. And we also had a reference to time slipping in Loki, because what Loki was doing, they also called that time slipping.
Yeah. So
we got a little overlap between the two different comic companies there. I just found that interesting. I was like, oh, okay. The terminology works for either one, so I'm not complaining about it or anything. I just thought it was interesting.
So they were able to save at least 3 of the Earths, the main 3 continuity Earths and stuff like that. Barry did that, and this is like I said, this is the reason why I'm giving it a 7, because there are certain things in here that didn't kind of make sense to me on why it happened. Maybe it's probably in the comic where he flushed out later in the later acts and stuff like that. But as the interlife wave was coming in, he did the thing. He did his vibration thing, and he was able to stop time, and that allowed him to continue his work. It was only for just him and Iris, in order for him to continue the work, in order to build the spire to do what he needs to do. And then when he did it on that Earth, it also created it on all the other Earths too, which I thought was a little weird. If you notice that it was all constructed on all the other Earths as well, the ones that they could pretty much, save.
Oh yeah, I didn't even catch that. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because when they had the montage of them building it up, you remember you had all the Supermans and everything. Eventually, when that wave started to come in, it started to take all of them out, and there was only so many of them. And then some of them, they were stuck in time, so they couldn't do anything. Like all the Supermans and everybody was stuck in time, so they couldn't construct it fast enough. So Barry stopped time, and he lived in that state for a long time.
Right.
And, until he got old and stuff like that. And that's when he was able to create the device or the whatever it was, the pillar or whatnot, that he connected to the cosmic treadmill, and that's how he was able to speed everything up to do what he needs to do. And then you seen when he got out of it, you seen all the lightning bolts of him just basically creating it and everything in that nature, and then he just went for him, and kind of like that's how he was able to get it to work. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Cool. Yeah. That is neat. So yeah, one of the big differences between the comic book and the movie is Barry's sacrifice. I mean, he sacrifices himself in both continuities, But in the comic books, it's towards the end of the series. So, like I said, it was a 12-part series. I think it was about issue 10 is where Barry sacrifices himself, and it was less on him and Iris's their relationship and just more on Barry's sacrifice. Whereas in the films, we're getting the sacrifice at the beginning in the first part of the 3-parter, and I think the purpose of that is in the films, his sacrifice is supposed to, I think, inspire the other heroes to continue his work and continue what he started. Where in the comic books, it was more of, well, he's just sacrificing himself to save save what's left of the multiverse. Yeah. So there's a big difference in the two. I think both of them work. I don't want to complain. Oh, well, they should have saved it for the end like they did in the comic books. No, because I think it worked well in the aspect of the films and the way the films were set up, because the films are set up so differently than the comic books. So I think both ways are good. I'm not going to be one of those hardcore, oh, well, it has to be exactly like the comic books here, because I think the story works either way. I think it just works differently in the different continuities. And, unlike
some of them.
There are
Harbinger,
some.
She was actually really good, but they didn't really flesh Harbinger out. I think that's going to happen in the second act. Harbinger was the female that was basically, instead of Flash trying to get one person at a time, she was the one that basically bringing
Harbinger was Supergirl, though.
That was Supergirl?
Yeah, they
the one that was the Anti-Monitor? That was Supergirl. Now I gotta go.
That's what they revealed, that Harbinger is actually Supergirl. Now I didn't quite get that. I don't know why.
I didn't realize that. I thought it was.
She was actually actually Supergirl. Yep.
Now this is the part where Steven checks out. Wait a minute. How did this is the part he was like, I watched this thing several times, and this is a Steven skip right here, because I'm just like, I must have definitely got over that part. Yeah, it went over my head when it came down to it. For the most part, I think that and they did not introduce Anti-Monitor, but if there is a different variation of Batman, there's also going to be a different variation of the Monitor. The Monitor, if you look at him, Monitor is very much like the Watcher from the Marvel Universe. Have you ever seen the What If series?
Oh, yeah.
He's
right.
very much like the Watcher. He's always been there. He knows everything, and he knows what's there to come. You don't know whether he can be a good or a bad entity. It just depends. But the Anti-Monitor, it's something that happened, and it's more in the comics. And Mike, you probably can kind of speak to that a little bit more, because I got to go back in and I got to start reading a little bit more into I got to finish it out. Rather, I started the first half of it, but I got to start finishing the rest of it.
I don't know if I've ever actually read all of the Crisis series, because you got to remember I was probably 14 when that series came, 13 or 14, so I didn't have much money. I wasn't, I was old enough, but I didn't have the cash to go out and buy the comics. That was the problem. So I don't know if I ever got all of the issues, which again, I'm going to get the 12 main issues this year, because like I said, that's all getting re-released. And I definitely will be reading through that alongside watching the other 2 parts of the film. So when we go to do part 2 and part 3, we can discuss the comic books more, because by then they'll be, I don't know if all the issues will be out, but you know what I'm saying? They'll be coming out. They may double up those issues and not just do 1 a month. They might do 2. Not 100% sure how that's all going to work, but we'll find out over the next coming few months. So overall, I would say Crisis, if you are a fan of DC Comics and you're a fan of the DC animated movies, I'd say Crisis is well worth the watch. I really enjoyed it.
Now, it's not going to emphasize the characters that you guys may already, that you're hoping to actually, come in and save the day. Like Batman, in a sense, Batman is not. He's observing a lot more than what you he's doing his Batman thing. He's trying to figure out, okay, what is all happening and why is it happening? Superman is just like, okay, I know I'm needed here, but I may not be needed here for what is all going on. Wonder Woman, she's in the background. They kind of don't really do much with Wonder Woman, besides if you get like Power Woman or whatever, her name is. They don't really put too much emphasis on Wonder Woman. What's that? Flash is really the big standout in this one. What's that? Green Lantern, not so much. And then I do like the fact that how in I think Earth One they were talking about, well, you know what we should do since they were going against Amazing, we should form a league, like a Justice League. And then by the end of the movie, that's when he was like, Batman said, you know what? I think we should form a Justice League because we need to actually partner up. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna buy the building. It's already bought, by the way.
Right? Yeah. He said, well, the building's already paid for, so.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, and then you start to see like in the beginning on Earth One, like how it was just like everybody was so dysfunctional and fractured, where they all did their own thing and they all came together on Earth One. And then in Earth 2, they were a little bit more, I guess, seasoned. They kind of work. Earth 3, a little, you don't have the same heroes. And then that's what, like you was talking about, when they start to introduce a lot of the different Earths, Earth Prime, Earth 38, all those different Earths, then you see what all happened to your favorite superhero, and then who else took over the mantle, and
right.
Also who else, came into existence because they wasn't there, or if, like, for example, Kal-El wasn't the one that was sent off, Kara was, and she became the super person on Earth and everything in that nature. And I thought that was pretty cool, which ties in the Flash movie, by the way. But yeah. The Flash movie. Yeah. So Kara was the one that was there, and she died so many times throughout the whole interaction. And then Flash was trying to make that connection too, because I was like, Crisis kind of remind me of the Flash movie. Was they trying to tell that without having the Dark Flash come in there? It was kind of stupid. I ain't lie. That Flash movie was wonky, man. It was all over the place. But I don't want to go into that rabbit hole.
Let's. We already did a Flash episode.
Yeah, we already talked. That baby no, I can't.
Oh God.
Moving on. This is what I wish the anti-life equation comes in. No, it's the anti-life matter wave. But I was wondering if that was created from the anti-life equation. But no, the anti-life equation allows the beholder to have full control over the universe, to make the universe do whatever it is that they want to do. The anti-life wave knocks everything out of existence. So for you comic book kids, you probably already know it was a duh thing. We already know that. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I was just like, oh, okay. So I was like, did they get that from the anti-life question? Nah, that's not it. All right.
Well, I'm predicting that the second movie, part 2, I'm predicting things are going to get a lot worse for our heroes, because it always gets worse before it gets better, right? So, and it is a 3-parter, so that middle part has always got to be the bad guys winning, which is why Steven hates 3-parters. That's why he hates trilogies. He doesn't like to see that. Because we went over Empire many times. Empire is my ultimate favorite Star Wars film of all time, and Steven, it's not for him. Revenge of the Sith is for him, but that's the reason he doesn't like the cliffhanger. To me, it's like, wait a minute, that was one of the greatest cinematic moments, moments in cinematic history. How do you not like that? I
think he don't like the Matrix trilogy at all. Probably not.
No, he likes the Matrix. We kind of went over the Matrix too with Aaron. Yeah, you can go back and listen to the Matrix stuff.
No, I feel you. That's multidimensional if you think about it too. You are technically in a simulated world, and then also you have things happening outside that world, and when you get jacked in, or you jumped into the earth, what they call it, or the reality that people exist, things are not as they seem, and then you can have multiple different,
That's true.
Yeah, simulation is random because the systems learn from itself, and then you have the monitor, which is the architect. Never mind, let me stop. All right, I'm done.
So you're saying there's a lot of comparisons to Crisis.
It's a lot of comparison. Yeah, there's a lot of comparison to Crisis.
I never really thought of it that way. Huh, that's
Mhm.
interesting. We'll have to get Steven in on that conversation. All right. Well, so I'd say overall, we both recommend this film to people if you
Oh,
are
yeah.
a fan. If you're a fan of DC, if you're a fan of both the animated and the comic books, I think it works well. So yeah, I'd say go out and watch it. It's well worth if you're wanting to rent it, it's well worth a rental. I purchased it because I want to have it. I probably should have got the physical because this would be a good one to have the physical of.
Yeah.
Who knows? I may
It's
go back
a
and get it.
nice ensemble movie, and it is. If you think about it too, it's more. It will give you that same type of feel as Infinity War. That's just what it is. It's just mainly it's the DC's version of an Infinity War. So
Well, I would push back on that because the Crisis story came out before Infinity, but
all right, here we go with this.
the original Crisis story.
I'm just talking about. Have you ever seen
that dates back to 1984, dude.
Now we go back. Who did it better, right, Mike? Who did it better? Was it DC or Marvel?
Well,
Yeah, that's the reason why I got my Ninja Turtle shirt on. I ain't want to basically come out swinging.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get into that battle right now.
Okay. But if you ever see, like, if you just want to watch a movie that kind of tells you if the good guys don't always win and things are happening and you get that Thanos type feel, then it kind of gives you that same sense. But it's a very interesting twist though, because it's just like they all, you don't just have Bruce Banner and Tony trying to figure it out. You have all the smartest people throughout the many different universes on Earth trying to figure out how they can be able to save their Earth from this looming threat coming in. So it plays off of everybody's strength and weakness. You have your bronze and your bronze type of deal. Bronze and the smart and the strong type of deal, and everybody plays a part, which I thought was pretty interesting in the movie. And they showcased that, and it didn't help because they all died.
To quote the one actor from Star Wars Rogue One, when they were doing their promotion of Rogue One, and before it came out, and somebody asked him, well, does your character die? And he says, he dies, she die, they die, we all die.
Yes. So, and then you kind of felt like I gotta watch. It was a tearjerker too. I ain't gonna lie. I got a little bit of a emotional part when it came down to Iris and Flash. I don't know, man. It's something about like when people of older folks and they work together and they on that last limb, and it was like, we got to do it. We got to finish this. And then it was like, Iris passed, and I was just like, and Flash was like, I'm gonna continue going forward. That gets me every time, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, because it's just like, all right, we gonna finish this to the end. And once they made it and they got it to where they figured it out and all that stuff, and I thought that was pretty humbling.
Well, they have a great relationship. I think that's
all right. I'm going up. I'm going 8 cosmic treadmills because of that part right there. That kind of got me. Yeah, I'm going up 8 on that one.
All right. That's cool. So again, yeah, I would highly recommend this. I think it's well worth the watch. Actually, if you're gonna buy it physically, I would say wait, because they're gonna release each one separately, and then DC does this all the time. When they do these multi-parters, they release them in the single parts. And then they like a year later, they go, oh, well, we're going to put them all together on one disc and in a box set or whatever. So I would say if you're going to buy it physically, wait till that comes out and just get all 3 of them together in one package, rather than buying them separately. But if you're going to get them digitally, just go ahead and either rent them or purchase them now. I think that's just fine. So. All right. I think that wraps up our discussion on Crisis Infinite Earths Part 1. And I don't know where Steven puts the links and stuff like that.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes. Well, I know where my portion of it is, but I don't know where his portion of it is. So anyway, if you want more information about there we go. Way to go, Megan or Tito, whichever you want to call her.
With the clip.
So if you want more information about Two Geeks and a Microphone, please go to www.geeksmike.com. That where you can get all the information about our show there. You can get to links for all the various podcasting outlets that we are available on, such as Spotify, Amazon, and I don't know all the rest. But yeah, you can do that. You can also go to our merch page, which is if Megan has that one. There we go, which is www.2geeksmikemerch.com.
It's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. It is. I had to put the mic in there. I couldn't get Two Geeks merch for some reason.
We had it, and then we messed something up.
Yeah, and we lost it.
Go back and find a different way.
So I got the Two Geeks Mike merch. You can get all kinds of stuff. We've got hats, hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, all kinds of cool stuff there. So go check that out. And then last but certainly not least, we have our Ko-fi site. Oh, Megan, did you? Oh, yeah, Megan's got one of the lightweight hoodies. These are pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I like that. That is one of our merchandise pieces there. And then last but certainly not least, you can go to Ko-fi if you'd like to support us. Throw a couple shekels at us. That would be nice because, as we like to say, podcasting is not cheap. And you can go to www.ko-fi.com/2geeks. And Steven has got our novella. That's it. Our novella for the What If series, or What If story we did a few weeks ago, which was what if Qui-Gon Jinn had survived in episode 1. So if you want to check that out, it is available. And he is working on the audio book version of that one. Of course, that one, for the audiobook version, you will actually have to give us a few shekels. So well, you have to support us, but you can get the PDF for free. So, and if you've made it this far, this would be my portion of the show.
Okay, there we go. I knew it was coming.
All right, if you made it this far, make sure and go and like and subscribe to us. Like us on Facebook, where I share a lot of memes and any information on upcoming episodes, so on and so forth there. And make sure and give the bell a tickle over there on YouTube and subscribe to us on YouTube. If you do those things, you will be notified every time we go live. And we go live every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. You do the math because I don't like math. All right. With that said, I think we've covered just about everything except for maybe sponsors, and that's Steven's deal. He can do that next week when he's back.
You ain't gonna do that for.
All right. Any final words before we go, Tharen?
No. Thank you for having me on. This is a very interesting conversation. I love to, come on and jump in and do more. You know me. I love cross-platform, crossovers, dimensional talk, and everything in that nature. When it comes to comics and comic books and comic movies and everything. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's everything kind of comes together. It's our talks coming to fruition, Mike. This is what we was doing, when we was in that special place. It's on the air. It's out in the waves now. It's awesome.
These are our lunchroom discussions from years ago. Yeah. That's all this is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tharen, we love having you on. And Tharen will be back with us next week, along with our friend Brian from Three Geeky Dads. And we are going to do another Versus episode, and we're going to do Spawn versus Black Adam.
Adam.
Which
I got to
I'm
give me a Black
looking
Adam
forward
shirt
to.
now.
I got a Black Adam shirt. I'll be
You
wearing
got a Black
mine.
Adam shirt? Oh, okay,
I do.
cool.
I do. I got one when the movie came out. Last year or whatever. So I was gonna say I probably have a Spawn shirt, but I don't. But I can't wear both of them. So
Nah, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna wear the Rock, the Bull.
There you go.
I got his tee. I got his cross training tee. I'm just gonna wear the Bull on there just to support my guy, man. Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna do that, then I might have to just wear Battlehawk stuff. You know, the Bull is his Brahma. It's the what is it? San Antonio Brahmas, I think, which is one of the XFL, or well, it's not XFL anymore. It's now the UFL.
Yep.
They merged with the USFL. And Steven at this point would be checking out because we're talking sports.
Ooh,
anyway,
interesting. This is what I'm into. An hour and 20 minutes, and now you got something that caught my attention.
Oh, wow. It took that long, huh? All right. Well, with that said, we better wrap this up. So, Tharen, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next week. Until then, I don't know, up and away. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,